Well, two University of Colorado students are under arrest after reportedly giving marijuana-laced brownies to their classmates and to a professor. Did I mention the students participating in the innocuous-sounding Bring Food to School Day? But while pot is now legal in Colorado, feeding it to somebody without their knowledge may be a different story.
The message is, if you are going to make marijuana-laced brownies or any other product that has drugs in them, and the other person doesn't know, that's a felony.
Ricardo Cunningham is one of the suspects. Several of the students became sick after eating the brownies. The professor said she got all dizzy. She thought she was going to black out. Bad situation. Joined now by Joey Jackson, former prosecutor, and Deborah Blum, a trial attorney. Welcome to you both. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
So this is a lot of these questions are probably going to start rising with the legality of pot in several states. Joey, are they guilty of assault?
Guilty, and
really?
guilty. Absolutely. Here's why. There's a couple of elements that have to be proven. With respect to the assault, Martha, what you have to look at is the lack of consent. If you could establish that someone was drugged and you didn't have their consent as a result of it, the statute makes out assault. Now, there's also another charge, Martha, and that is the unlawful consumption of a controlled substance by deception. And as it relates to that, all you have to show is that it was consumed by false pretenses. When you make brownies and you don't make people aware that it contains THC, that is the cannabinol, right? The substance found in marijuana, it's problematic, and more so than problematic, Martha, it is criminal.
Deborah, what do you think?
Well, Joey, you know this as well as I do. To have felony assault, serious bodily injury either needed to be intended or caused, and neither was done here. This prank went terribly wrong, but nobody was physically harmed. No, there was no serious physical harm.
So but we should point out that two people were dizzy. Several of them went to the hospital. 8 people suffered the effects of this. Really, you know, I mean, I don't know if it's illegal, but it's obnoxious.
I agree.
To say the least.
I absolutely agree, but it is not a felony level assault.
Well, here's the problem, and you know, Deborah lays out the statute, but the only problem is that one of the other elements in Colorado is if you can establish the consumption without consent. Under our law in New York State, you need serious physical injury, that's true, and under Colorado's you do. But when we're talking about drugs, when we're talking about giving them to people and the people don't know them, there's a specific section in the statute that addresses this. And so while it might have been a prank, and while he may have thought it was funny, and while I don't think he's a criminal, quote unquote, I do think the act itself is made out by the statute, and he's going to have some problem.
I mean, the results could have been much more serious. I mean, you don't know how someone's going to react to this when you put it into their food if they've never had it before. There's no telling, you know, what the kind of response could be. It seems to me, and you tell me if this is an equivalent situation, if you're at a bar and someone slips something into your drink without telling you, isn't it pretty much the same thing, Deborah?
I don't agree that this is the same thing.
Why not?
These people did not have any intent to cause harm. And what Joey was mentioning before, when you give somebody a substance and you need to have the intent to cause harm to be guilty of the assault. Here there was no intent to cause harm. I understand that this was a very bad idea and that they should not have given pot brownies to their professor or to their classmates. But I absolutely do not believe, and I believe that their defense attorney would argue, that they had no intent to cause physical harm, serious physical harm, period.
Yeah, but I mean, it would seem to me, I don't know what the intent could possibly be other than to, you know, get a big kick out of watching the reaction after, you know, everyone brings their food to school. It's Bring Your Food to School Day. And clearly they wanted to sit back and get a good laugh out of this at the very least. Right, Joey?
Oh, sure. But it backfired in a significant way. And there are a couple of things I'd like to say. The first thing is as it relates to injury, as we both know, Martha and Deborah, there were people who were hospitalized here. Number one, the professor went to the hospital. Number two, 2 students did. In addition to that, 5 others were sick. As it relates to the issue of intent under this statute, look, you don't need that, and if you can argue that you do, intent could be inferred. What else would you be looking to do when you lace a brownie with marijuana than have people consume it? And whatever the consequence of that was, you have to accept and otherwise be straddled with. And so I think the defendants here ultimately have a big problem.
Well, I predict that we're going to see more things along these lines as pot becomes legal in these states and, you know, it starts being used more liberally and in ways like this. We're going to hear more of this kind of story. Deborah, Joey, thank you.
Have a great day, Martha. Thanks.
All right.